Welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide with your host, Mariana Cooper, founder of Aha Moments International and AhaMomentsWorld.com. Tune in for the next hour and learn to trust your aha moments to lead the way to live a passionate and purposeful life. And now here's your host, Mari.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide. I'm Mari. Happy Tuesday, and here we are once again. Today's topic is change can happen in an instant, and that is absolutely the truth. We're going to talk about 3 things that you can ask of yourself that can trigger change that seems to take place instantaneously. And I've used these very often myself. Change is an interesting thing, and a lot of times what we think we want, we actually kind of have all kinds of hidden blocks and things that we don't realize. And we're going to talk about some of the keys to trigger that shift for you. They're pretty subtle, but once you see what they are, it's kind of interesting how you're like, wow, I kind of knew that all along, but I didn't realize how much it was holding back the good flow from coming in. So we're going to talk about that. And excuse me, I wanted to also let you know that we're doing a special round of these Healing with your Akashic Record readings this month. We have a few spots left for the second 2 weeks of May. What are we already in the second week of May? Really? Wow, I just looked at the date. So next week we have a couple of spots left, and the week after for these new Akashic Record readings. Now, we've been doing these for the spring. We've been doing quite a few of these. We've had several of you in our community come and work with me in the records. But we have 10 new questions that you can actually ask in the records, and we have not done this before. So if you have had a reading and you want to have another one, this is a really good time to do it because there's a whole other level that we're getting to as far as what we can gather from the records. And I'm going to just go through these 10 questions and let you know what they are just so that you can start to percolate and see if these answers, getting these answers would help you moving forward. The first one is, what are the best and most powerful abilities that I have had in past lives that I can bring forward to this lifetime now? And it's interesting because everybody gets very caught up in, what they did in their past life, and they try to use it to justify not getting things done in this life or, healing in this life or whatever. But what if you could take all of the different lifetimes you've had and bring all the money you've ever had forward into this lifetime? What about all of the actual, talents that you've had? What if you had, intuitive talents, magical talents? Maybe you were alive during the time of, the Druids and Merlin, and, maybe you had like really powerful manifesting energy in Lemuria or Atlantis, and you could bring that forward into this lifetime. You can do that. I actually have been working with that one myself, and it's been seeming things have been shifting kind of interestingly with that. The second question is, what are the best ways for me to increase my level of self-love and appreciation with the masters, teachers, and guides of the Akashic Records? Self-love is kind of the bottom line for everything. In fact, I've just spent the last 5 days working on my new book, The Self-Love Project, and really steeped into that subject. I've put hours and hours and hours, and I just got the first printout of the manuscript today from the printer right before we got on the show today. So the self-love thing is huge. It really does play a big role in how quickly change happens for you and how quickly you receive what it is you're desiring for. And if you receive it, a lot of it has to do with, with your own personal feelings about yourself. The third question is, bring to mind your most difficult or stuck situation, and you can ask, what is the most appropriate action I should take at this time? The next one, why have I chosen to be me in this lifetime? The next one after that, how am I seen in the light of the Akashic Records? How might I be rejecting, betraying, or resisting myself at this time? Bring to mind a pattern that you would like to shift and ask, how has this pattern been serving me in this lifetime? Then you can also ask, why did I choose this pattern of money, health, relationship, or insert your pattern of choice? You can also ask, at what point did I choose this pattern, and what is the advice of the masters, teachers, and loved ones that I should apply to shifting this? And then finally, how can I open to receive and be willing to accept what I've asked for more easily now? So that last question is a great segue into our topic for tonight. How can I open to receive and be willing to accept what I have asked for more easily now? So that question, that open to receive and willing to accept, is a big one. So open to receive is really what it says, being open to actually get the stuff that you're asking for. But a lot of people say, well, I am open, I want it. But once they get it, they lose it. And that goes into the second part of that phrase, which is being willing to accept it. So once you ask for something, and it shows up, are you willing to receive it? And a lot of times we are willing to do one without the other. And when you're not willing to accept it, what happens is that shows up. If you haven't done the work, kind of that underlying work, you will find that things kind of slip through, or just when you thought things were going to go well, they kind of fall down, okay? And that's that willing to accept piece. So when we talk about change can happen in an instant. Oh, wait, before I do that, let me just tell you, we're going to do a few readings later. So if you'd like to call in, I see Sam's already working on the folks who are online now. But you can call in. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired today. 347-215-9485 is the number to call in. 347-215-9485. Okay, so back to the change can happen in an instant. So let's talk about the three things that can actually really trigger change for you. The first question, well, let me make this point. A lot of times what we do in order to make a new thing happen, okay, you're usually up against something if you want a change to happen. Maybe you're feeling sad about a relationship or get a diagnosis with your health that you're, concerned about, those types of things. And so, there's a certain amount of a sense of urgency around some of the changes that we want. And then some of the things have been chronic issues, maybe a long-standing, stubborn weight loss issue, or, you procrastinate, or maybe, your business has really been struggling for a very long time, these types of things. So they seem like they're just longer-term chronic issues. Whether it's a chronic issue or it's more of a change, always happens in a moment. There's stuff that leads up to it that seems like there's a timeline on it. There's stuff that happens after that exact point of change so that you adjust to it and that you move into it. But the actual shift, the actual change happens in an instant, okay? So what we want to manage here is that pre-change and post-change. We also want to really influence with our thoughts and our emotions and with our focus. We want to influence that instant when the change happens, right? We want to be open to that. And so what I've found is that if you have a chronic issue, kind of long-lasting, and you keep trying the same thing, or you have an acute issue and you try to go back to something you did in the past that worked and try to get it to work again, a lot of times the past intervention is not going to work for the present issue. Why is that? Well, because you've evolved since the last time that happened, or some semblance of it happened. And when you've evolved, your frequency is raised. And when your frequency has raised, then your interventions shift and change. So what worked to get you out of a jam, back in 10 years ago, let's say with your finances, let's say you were stable and then you hit another bump in the road, and you try to go back to what worked the last time you went through something like this, which is a very natural, human thing to try to do, you might find that that's not going to work this time. That it's just not working no matter what you do. And I've had that, where I just go and say, to my own spiritual teachers, I've done it all. I've done everything. I'm like, okay, so then stand. And that's one of the things that's very, very important to note, that when you've done everything you can, then stand. It's the time to be still. And when you become a very advanced light worker, and I was just in my channeling the other day, they started calling my folks light leaders, especially when you're a light leader, which is different than a light worker. Light leader is here to help other people as well. When you are in that position, that whole lesson of leaning into the divine, leaning into what you cannot see, leaning into what you cannot just wrangle and muscle with your human beingness, that's a really hard and scary lesson to learn. Now, it's a powerful lesson, and one that many of you might be going through if you've been going through kind of the rounds and nothing's working, and you finally get to the point where it's just like, I'm either going to be run over by a train or some angel's going to drop down and rescue me because there's nothing. I got nothing. I've done it all. I got nothing. That might seem like from the human beingness, and if you talk to anybody who's emotionally or energetically primitive, which is another thing I'll talk about in a minute, because I've been encountering that too. If you're dealing with friends and family members and people who are telling you you should have and you could have and why did you take that risk and you should never have done and this and that, and really energetically primitive, they're not going to be the ones to say, trust in the divine. This is a lesson of magnitude. This is the biggest you've ever, learned. It's interesting when you get to that point, though, where the divine is the only thing you can turn to, that you finally got to the most powerful of all the tools there are. Okay? There is nothing more powerful than the divine energy, because the divine energy can see all the things that you can't see. It can see all the things that you can't see, and it can become all the things that you need it to become. It's the source energy. It's the energy that, breathes life into my cat Tinkerbell sitting here next to me. She loves the show, by the way. She comes and she sits next to me during the show, so you guys must have good energy. And, it's the same energy that breathes life into the ocean and to your lungs and makes your eyes blink and all that kind of good stuff. You've heard the flowery, descriptions of the source energy. But it's the truth. And sometimes when it comes to, if you want that instantaneous change, one of the ways you can really get to that, the shortcut to it is focus on the divine. Focus on that bigger energy. Now your mental mind will you with all the things you should be doing. Well, you should try harder, you should do this, run that, run this way, run that way, do this, do that, try it, and the criticism and the shifting and the, the judgment and all that. But the point is that if you can get quiet and you can focus, that a lot of times that big lesson that's in front of you is not so much about the brawn, it's about the energy, okay? Now, there are other times in your life where it is about brawn. Some of you, I know people have called into the show and they say, well, I was just hoping that money might drop out of the sky, and, well, I kind of don't really feel like doing anything, and you're not going to get anywhere with that, not even with the divine energy, because you're really essentially commanding the energy to not, to really kind of not do anything because you don't want to do anything. So there are times in your life where you are learning the brawn of physicality, right, where you have to take all the action. You're looking for that job. You've got all the resumes out. You've gone on all the interviews. You've done this. You've done that. Starting out, I want the new job. You have to put all these things into play. But then at some point, if those things aren't working, that's when you shift over to the energy. Now, it's great to go back and forth between the two and incorporate the two, but I'm just trying to make the distinction because I know that some people are in the state of running around, doing all these actions and not considering the energy. And then some people kind of just sit around waiting for, stuff to drop out of the sky, so that kind of doesn't work either. But if you've done all the action and you've been diligent about communicating energetically with your angels and guides and still isn't happening, you can ask one of these three questions. Okay, so First question is, what am I most afraid of that if I was willing to do it would change everything? What am I most afraid of that if I was willing to do it would change everything? I know I asked that question back in early 2011, like January of 2011, and the first thing that came up on the thing was telesummits. And I was really worried about doing telesummits. I knew there were a lot of work. I have friends who were doing them that were like complaining like crazy because the workload is insane, and the details, and there's just so many variables. But I said, I put telesummits, but I knew that if I did one, it could change everything because it would put us on the map and all that kind of stuff. And and I had written about 6 other things down on that list, but I said, what's the scariest one of all of them? Because whatever's the scariest one is probably the thing that's going to make the most change. And so I picked telesummits, and it did. I did the 11-11-11 telesummit, and it changed everything. It changed my whole world. It changed the business. It changed a lot of people's lives. We reached just, I thought we were going to get to 4 countries with registrations. We had 95 countries. People from 95 countries. I finally pulled out a world map and put it on the website. I remember that. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But it opened a gateway. It was the thing that was the trigger for the biggest change. Okay? So you have to write that list. What am I most afraid of that if I was willing to do it could change everything? That might be facing your weight issue and actually taking a stand and saying, I'm going to commit to this, and I'm not going to commit to it just for a week or just, so I can see if the weight comes off, and then I'll decide if I commit to it. I'm going to commit to this for a year. I'm going to commit to completely changing the way I, interact with food and exercise and all that stuff. That could be that top thing on the list. Whatever the top thing on the list for you is for you, and it comes up really fast in your head. Whatever that top thing on the list is for you, that's the thing that's the thing that's holding the treasure chest of the rewards that you're looking for. And it might feel like your rewards are being held hostage. I've had that argument many times with my guides. Like, you guys are baiting and switching me. I'm sick of this. But there's a lot of multi-layers to change as well. So sometimes those big rewards that you want require not just, you say I'm open to receive. Are you open to receive physically in your world? Are you open to receive emotionally? Are you open to receive mentally? Are you open to receive energetically? Those are 4 categories of receptivity. If, let's say, you really want this relationship of a lifetime, but you're pretty chaotic in your finances, you don't feel great about your body, the physicality, the physical world, the body part is kind of hard to get into a relationship with someone when you're really, really off with how you feel about your body. And when you have your finances and that baggage, it's hard to engage and embark on a relationship with someone as well and be fair. So you've got that's like a mental load, right? That's the mental clutter. And then you've got the physical clutter of how you feel about your body image. And then emotionally, what if you don't want to be vulnerable? You have a hard time feeling vulnerable. So then you've got all of that pushing into the energetic part of it, which is, there's too much fear. So then you call Mari on the radio show and say, when's my guy coming? And Mari says, well, and I can see it in your field that it's like, you got a lot of categories of clutter there. So the guy isn't going to just ignore all of that and stand on top of your mountain of mess and say, oh, okay, here I am. You've got to fix. I mean, you don't have to be perfect, but you certainly have to be very aware and good, strong work in progress for that to shift. Okay, so your instant change that you're looking for, Prince Charming, poof, like appears in the living room with flowers and chocolate, that is probably not going to happen when you've got those bags and you want to lighten your load. I'm not saying you have to have no baggage. There's no guy out there that has no baggage. They're all coming with baggage too. But you want, if you're working, remember, water seeks its own level. So whatever I'm talking about interpersonal changes now, okay? So water seeks its own level. However evolved you are is the height of what you can attract in someone else. You can't attract more than what you are. you might be able to get some attention. Let's say you're very pretty physically or whatever, get some attention. But as far as someone sticking around for any period of time, you're going to, water seeks its own level. You're going to get what you are. So if you are not perfect, but you are aware and you're willing to take action on yourself on a regular basis, you are going to position yourself to meet someone else who's not perfect, but he's aware and he's taking action on himself on a regular basis. You're each raising your frequency. You're each sort of tumbling through your life with awareness and with consciousness. And when you have that, then you have the makings of a relationship, because you can sort of flow back and forth. And, hey, your weak spots might be his, strong spots, and vice versa, and you guys can kind of, shift back and forth. But there's a certain, category of energetic frequency that you need to be in to even attract that type of evolved person. Okay? So if you are sitting around, just on Match.com trying to figure out, does he look good enough? Does he have a Bentley? And, how much money does he make? And can he, rescue me? And is he going to ignore that I hate my body? And is he going to ignore that I'm an emotional wreck? And is he going to ignore that I don't, I'm not fiscally responsible? And is he going to ignore that, I hate my family and all that? You're not, it's not fair. It's not fair to yourself, and it's not fair to the other person. And quite frankly, your energy will repel anybody who's healthy if you're not in that way. Okay, so that's even with that you can translate that into other life categories, jobs and all that kind of stuff as well. But the question, what am I most afraid of, that if I was willing to do would change everything, is a huge, huge announcement of willingness to move forward, and that can shift everything. And it's amazing how, when you become pliable and willing, how much really can tumble into your world. The second question is asking for clarity on what lessons I am to learn that if I became aware of would change everything. Okay? So what lessons are you can ask, what lessons am I supposed to learn about this? Like, what's the core, divine clarity? Ask for divine clarity on the situation at hand. What are the core lessons that I'm supposed to learn from this so that you can be done with it, so that you can master it? But sometimes those lessons are just an awareness of something, and then everything shifts. Sometimes it's an awareness and a set of actions to take. Like, for me, I know, I've been asking, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? And it was like, write this. Come on, I already gave you a book. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of writing. He said, nope, gotta write that book. Gotta write that book. And, for the last 8 days, I finally caved, and I said, all right, okay. And I just sat for hours and hours and hours and hours and wrote the book. Now, it's I gave birth to the book. The book is now printed in a manuscript format, and it will now need to be edited and prepared for human consumption, for presentation to the world. But the basic birthing of the book has taken place, which then creates shifts and lightness, and I can see kind of the road. I saw the wall come down, okay, because I was willing to take that action. So sometimes there's an awareness and a set of actions. Other times that just the awareness shifts everything. Let's say you've gone through a whole lot of action taking, let's say in your career or something, and then you finally, you finally hit that final point, and they said, well, here's the awareness we want you to have, so that at least when you're going forward now to your next stage, you've garnered all the wisdom from the previous stage, so you don't have to go through it all over again. The third thing is a big one, and that is you take an inventory of the shame, the guilt, and the worthiness that you are feeling for what you desire. Because shame and guilt and unworthiness are the absolute worst things. They're the most poison of anything. You're better off being angry, not liking your hips or whatever, but the shame and the guilt and the unworthiness can stop any kind of reward in its tracks, and it stops it cold. Any kind of result that you want. If you have any kind of shame, guilt, or feeling some unworthiness, like, oh, I don't deserve this, oh, I don't believe this can happen, or, oh, I, feel guilty about it, or if I have it, nobody else will have it. A lot of people get that way about money. Or I feel guilty that, I wasn't perfect in the past, and now, who am I to have the relationship or the life that I've always wanted, that type of thing. That's one that you really need to pull out the journal. If you need to get a therapist to help you, a spiritual teacher, or whatever, working through your Akashic records, whatever it is, you need to get help on that, because the cleaner you can be from that, those real acidic emotions or points of view, I should say, the easier everything is to flow. One of the tools I will refer you to for that, which is there's two. One is Brené, B-R-E-N-E, Brown, has a whole thing on shame, and I actually haven't read her books, but my mother and a lot of my intellectual friends who are hypercritical of everything and analytical and don't really receive anything because they're not into the whole energy thing, they love her. And so she must be doing something right, because they just say she's fantastic. And I think it's because she's done so much research and she has a lot of substantiated points of view. It's not just like, oh, I got this, and, I channeled the guys and they told me this. It's more scientific, and, she's done all kinds of work with huge groups of people. So I think that's why all of my more intellectual, less energy, or, I feel energetically primitive people that I know in my life don't, they love her. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be energetically involved and love her. I'm sure she's fantastic, but I know for a fact that the shifts I've seen in people that I never thought I'd see a shift is huge. She's on Oprah all the time, and that she's a really good one to follow. The other one that I saw yesterday, I love, love, love. You've heard me say this on the show before, Joel Osteen. I'm not religious, but I've studied probably every religion out there at some point in my career, and I grew up Catholic, and I'm not like practicing a formal religion right now. But I do lean into a variety of different things. I can be reading the Kabbalah on one day and dealing with the Tao on another and listening to Joel on another. It really depends on where I'm at, or channeling, or whatever. And he had a show on yesterday, his sermon for Sunday, May 11th. You can probably see it online. It was all about shame and forgiveness, forgiving yourself, and worthiness. And he just knocked it out of the park. It was so powerful. It was so powerful that I actually took some notes. I thought it was really well done. And he's very, very mystical. He's amazing how much of the stuff that we talk about on the show he actually talks about in that church. But he does it in such a way that he backs it up with scripture, so that it goes kind of, under the radar of the whole Christian movement, which would say that this is, this kind of stuff isn't valid. And I hear him, and he's one of the people that I've seen, I've studied him for years and followed him for years, and he's one of those people that I've seen really is very eclectic in the way that he positions things, and he's done whole shows on intuition. He's talking about inheriting your sense of worthiness, which is, past life oriented. He's like, a lot of this self-worth stuff, it could have come from somewhere else, and it could have been passed down, and it's not yours anyway. I mean, come on, that's what we talk about in the records all the time. So he really, I think, he has a kind of an insider track, and he's getting to such a huge number of people, and he's just flat out, he's the most amazing cheerleader for your life ever. So I highly, highly, highly recommend him. And yesterday, in particular, that show, with any of that, if you just want to feel really good, that was a good one to watch. Okay, so all of this, just doing a little bit of this can actually change things very, very quickly. And you definitely want to, when you're really in the thick of it and you really do need something to shift dramatically, I highly suggest that you reduce your output with other people, meaning that you kind of, I don't want to say isolate, but you really kind of pull back. I know I was at dinner the other day and I left. I just left early. The conversation was just off the charts, off the rails. It was annoying me, and I just said, okay, I'm done. And it was just maybe 2 weeks ago it wouldn't annoy me, but I'm going through a lot of changes right now. And I said, you know what? they're good. Don't stop the conversation. I'm just going to remove myself from the conversation, and you guys have at it, because I just needed to be with with my own conversation. So don't be afraid to have those healthy, energetic boundaries, and give yourself the space to be quiet and to listen to that divine energy, that divine conversation, because ultimately that's what we're all being led to. You might be spinning around in, physical action and physical thoughts and mental lists and all that kind of stuff. But at the when you get down to the bottom of it, that divine conversation lesson is going to show up. So you're better off tuning into that energy sooner than later. Okay, so we are going to take a quick break. I'm going to get some water, and then we're going to come back and do some conversating with you. And so the number to call in is 347-215-9485. That's 347-215-9485. I'm Mari. You're listening to the Aha Moments radio show, and we'll be right back.
Do you ever get a hunch about something and ignore it, only to find out later you were right after all? Do you know that you're intuitive but need help interpreting what you get? Need quick answers to burning questions but don't have the time to wait for a private reading? Then Mari's Intuitive Living Oracle cards are the tool for you. 45 gorgeous laminated cards and a full book of interpretations come together in a beautiful velvet bag. The cards have been designed and energized to give you the answers right now. No more sleepless nights weighing pros and cons. Ask the cards your questions and see what message your intuition has for you. To learn more and get your deck now, go to the store at www.ahamomentsinc.com and click on the Intuitive Living cards now. That's the store at ahamomentsinc.com. The answers are truly within your reach.
Step back in time to the very beginning, before life as we know it existed. Stones have been on this earth since before the inception of man. They are keepers of ancient wisdom and messages. Tap into the profound wisdom of stones and let your journey begin at the Rock Girl Sacred Stone School. Let the Rock Girl take you back to those ancient days to learn firsthand the language and the secrets of stones. The Rock Girl will teach you how to develop your very own technique of communicating with them, allowing you to embark on your own path of self-discovery. Courses include Reiki, psychic development, chakra balancing and auric cleansing, hands-on healing, and more. Visit sacredstoneschool.com for classes and workshops taught exclusively by the Rock Girl of therockgirl.com.
Are you at a crossroads in your life, facing big decisions about your life purpose, business, relationships, or other major issues? Are you wondering why you may be delayed in getting what you want? Or if you have special guides who are helping you? Then investing in a private intuitive reading with Mari is just what you need. As a third-generation spiritual intuitive, Mari has worked with thousands of clients over the past 18 years. During your private session, you will learn who your guides are, receive insight on the core issues that need attention, and get new perspective, clarity, and inspiration on what to do next. To register, go to www.ahamomentsinc.com and click on the Work with Mari tab to get all of the details. There are a limited number of spots each month, so go to www.ahamomentsinc.com for yours now.
Are you living the life you are really meant to live? Soul Lifetimes Magazine is your online source for creating the life you truly desire. When you register register for your free subscription at www.soullifetimes.com, you get access to a world of resources that will help you to get the answers you seek and inspire you to take charge of your world. Tap into your body, mind, and spirit with articles from some of the most well-known conscious thought leaders and teachers on metaphysics, soul talk, soulmate relationships, quantum healing, astrology, food for the soul, style, and more. When you join us to create a joyful lifestyle for a new way of being, you truly contribute to raising the consciousness of the world. Subscribe for free at www.soullifetimes.com and never miss an issue of this innovative and insightful digital magazine. Soul Lifetimes magazine is about living happier, healthier lives full of purpose, joy, and abundance. Subscribe now for free at www.soullifetimes.com. We look forward to seeing you there.
Hello, we're back. I'm Mari. You're listening to the Aha Moments radio show, and today we're talking all about change that can happen in an instant. So now we are going to take a few of your calls. If you'd like to call in, the number is 347-215-9485, and as always, I'd like if you could be specific with your question. If it's a relationship question, what do you see in my love life is a little too broad for a radio show. We don't have a lot of time. So if you have a specific question about your topic, then that would be the most advisable. So off we go. The first person we have is Melissa in New York. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Can you turn your volume down because we have an echo? We have an echo with you. Can you just turn your...
Hello?
Hi, can you just turn your radio volume down a little bit because we can hear the echo of me?
No, I don't have it on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I just turned down the volume on my phone.
Okay, cool. So, what's your question?
My question is, I've been single for probably 2 years. So I want to know, do you see someone this summer coming up?
The beginnings of something could happen towards the end of August, but it's not so much a matter of time as much as it's a matter of what you're doing with your energy within that time. So if you, again, like today, what we're talking about today, really give that some thought because it feels like there's a sticking point with you, something in there that we talked about today, that if you fixed it, that person would kind of walk right through. A lot of times guys are held behind what I call the curtain, where they're kind of watching you from a distance energetically, waiting for that moment for your stuff to kind of be receptive for them. And then all of a sudden you make a shift and then they show up. So if you've been on a kind of a long dry spell, ask them the questions that we talked about today, and I think you're going to get a nice shift for yourself. But as far as the person from where it looks like right now, probably towards the end of August, beginning of September would be the time we would meet him if nothing changed as we talk. Now, if you want to move that up, you can do some of the energetic work we talked about. I think that you'll be in a good place.
Oh, I will definitely. You gave very good tips today. I definitely will do that, especially when you move away from, like, how you talked about the conversation your friends had at the table. You had to leave. It's just like that energy you just didn't want apart. You didn't want to be attached to it, basically.
No, it's the truth. And it was funny because they saw me getting really upset, and they kept going, and they made it worse because they thought it was fun because I'm more of an emotional person than them. So I just walked out. So it was very interesting to see. Then I got a bunch of calls after it was all over, like, oh, are you okay? And I just threw it off for now, Just got to let people be where they are. But the thing about that is that you don't try to make them behave the way you need them to behave while you're there. You just remove yourself from the situation and let them be who they are, because that's all their free will, And I think that's where people get really caught up is they think that they need to change everyone in their world, and you don't. You just, some days, you know what? I have an extra margarita and I deal with it and we're fine. There's other days when I'm just not up for it, and then I know that's okay for me to get up and walk out. Does that make sense?
Oh, that definitely makes sense. Like, You can't change people, and you can't control a situation that you have no part to do.
No.
Yes, I had to learn that. A lot.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised because as you do that, it's saying I respect myself and I respect not just, we all kind of understand physical boundaries and respecting our bodies and all that, but people don't really understand how to respect their own energy. And that is where, when you start to put that kind of behavior out there and just say, hey, you know what, I respect that you guys want to have fun in this way, but it's hurting me, so I'm going to walk out. You don't have to swallow it. It's saying I feel empowered in myself and honoring of myself not to put up with it. And I also am allowing you to be who you are and enjoy yourself without having somebody who's not being honest. And because if I was sitting there squirming, I would be being dishonest to them because I'm not on board. So why live a lie? When you do a lot of that, it's amazing how people start to respect you more. Because you're respecting yourself. And that's when the guys really show up. The nice guys show up in your world. So I will
definitely let you know what happened.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Good luck with that. And, I think you're on the right track for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care, Melissa. Okay. So hopefully we won't get that echo with the next person. We now have Mary in Florida. Hi, Mary.
I do agree with you so much as far as Joel. I think he is a great lecturer, preacher. I love him. I think he's great.
I got a mailing from him today in the mail. I think I have it on my desk here somewhere. And he's got his little face. He was just sitting there, like it looked like he was sitting on a bench or something. They took the shot and they put it on a thing. And he's like, I know it can happen to you because it happened for me or something. That was the the caption on I know he can do it because I've seen it firsthand. And that's the caption they put on the, the outer envelope. And his little face, I'm like, can you get any cuter? This face. I mean, and it's not because he's such a good-looking guy. It's because his spirit is just, he's so all in.
Right. He just radiates the confidence and everything. And when I'm feeling really bummed out and I'm like, I don't think I can do this anymore and I don't think it's going to happen, then I'll put on him, and all of a sudden I'm feeling uplifted, and maybe it's possible, and I have some hope restored. So I always try to tell my friends too, and some of them are already watching them. Some of them haven't let on, but they've been watching them.
Yeah. Because they start quoting they don't think you.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just say something and I'll go, I wonder where they heard that,
Yeah, that's Joel. Yeah, Joel has some phrases that are very much him. All of a sudden, all my friends, about 2 years ago, I started telling all my friends to go listen to him, and then all of them were calling me, God is on the throne. God has made my crooked road straight. They start repeating all this stuff, and I'm like, wow, you've been listening to Uncle Joel. I call him Uncle Joel. So, anyway, what's your question?
My question, basically, I moved into an apartment. I had to sell my home a year ago, and I really didn't want to, but I had to financially. And I moved back to a place where I was prior to buying my home, and things were different then, and I was able to afford it, and things turned around with the economics and everything. And then coming back has been really hard, and so I figured, it's going to be all right. I'll be here a year, and by then I should be able to find something that I like better or what have you. Well, a year has come up, and my rent is going to be increased. They wanted to increase it more, and I asked them not to raise it, and so they said, just a little, not as much. I still haven't got that in writing, and I'm still getting nervous about that. Also, there's some things that they promised as far as improving my space that is I've just been put on hold, and I don't want to get over the top about certain things, and yet they need doing. And I'm a person that I've been through so much that I feel very worthy for whatever I ask within reason, and when I don't mean I want everything, but when things are important and they should be part of the deal, and I don't get certain things. Well, anyway, I don't want to go on so much with that. Is I'm wondering if you see either situations improving where I'm at, or if I'm going to be able to financially work something out where I can go where I really resonate a little better, despite the increase.
So, here's the thing: whenever you go back to something, you basically rewind your frequency back to that point. And so, what you have to do... It
wasn't so much by choice. It was kind of a last resort. Let's put it that way.
But still,
it had what I needed in close,
I understand. I'm going to stop you there. Let me finish this. When you do that, regardless of what the reason, you jam up your frequency because you start to consciously operate from where you used to be.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Okay? So that influences everything. Now, you can still live there, but claim your frequency forward and say, okay, how do I get my frequency to be in alignment with where, in a forward progression, so I'm not feeling I came back here, I'm now back here, I'm struggling back here, I shouldn't have been back here. That's constantly rewinding your energy. What you want to do is wind your energy forward, not rewind it backward. Even if you had to, you did the best you could with what you had at the time and you said, okay, I'm going to go back to that place. What you have to do whenever that happens, and that's anyone listening in our community on the podcast too, if you ever have to do that, you have to go physically to the place you used to be. But don't ever say I'm going back to anything or I want to be back to where I used to be. Never, ever, ever. What you want to do, even if you physically are in a place that you were in the past, you want to be present with it and bring a new frequency to that experience. Okay? That's going to give you that springboard that you needed, because that was your intention, was this will be a springboard to where I ultimately want to be. So your question is, should I focus on where I ultimately want to be? And absolutely, by all means, yes. That's where you should keep all of your attention.
I'm trying to do that, but what's throwing me off? Yeah, what's throwing me off mentally is now I go back to the websites where I initially saw a lot of the places that I had in mind, and they have gone skyrocketed in what they're asking because of certain developments in the area. Now all of a sudden everybody wants to get rich quick, and it's changed.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to stop you because we're going to have to get on to the next person. But
okay,
here's the point. It doesn't matter what the prices are. What you need to do is focus on what you desire, write it down, get an index card, draw a picture of it, and focus on that, and then the right place will configure for you. That's when at the beginning of the show when I was talking about, the lessons that are mundane versus the lessons that are with the divine energy. The mundane lessons are, okay, I'm running out of money. I have to, take a step back. Sometimes you have to take a step back to go forward, and all those kind of lessons, those kind of pain-in-the-butt lessons where, you lose everything. You got to figure out how to bootstrap yourself and all that, and how to suffer and all those things. That's not what this lesson is. This lesson is an invitation for you to create from the energy, okay? That's what this is. So this is not a matter of you looking and letting the environment and the pricing in the environment dictate. This is a matter of you creating, and you know it already. This is a matter of you creating what you want with the energy by focus. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that. Listen to the recording again, and then...
You don't have any time frame in your mind or any
It's all up to you. I could tell you any kind of time frame, you want to hear, but that's not what they're giving me. And again, that's showing you the level of lesson that this is. Because you're saying, okay, there's something out there that's dictating when I get my stuff. You're dictating it. And you could have it next week. You know, it's that close. You could push it out 1.5 years if you keep putting your power off into the ethers. You know, this is not about a timing thing.
A lot of mental work to do on it.
No, you have a lot of energetic work. There's a difference between mental work. You already did the mental work. That's what got you here. Okay, so you're done. The energetic work is the willingness. Now, one more thing I heard you say that I think is a sticking point for you. Okay. And you said it so casually, but I think this is the point I want you to contemplate. Is you said I want stuff within reason. That phrase, within reason, is the thing that's tripping you up and throwing you on your face.
Well,
okay?
you know what I meant
because
by that is
judgment.
I'm not asking them.
I know what you meant. It doesn't take rocket science.
Really.
See, that's exactly it. It doesn't take rocket science to know what you meant by it, but that's the point. You should your options are unlimited. You don't have to put limitation on it. You're putting judgment and limitation on what you can receive, which is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. That within reason is the thing you need to work on. And when you do that, all this stuff is going to boom, 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 fall right into place. It's all right there. And if you listen to Joel's show from yesterday, you will hear him say it over and over again as well. I'm going to have to jump to the next person, but I hope that's helpful.
All right. Thank you for your input. Good.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Next we have Gina in Georgia. Hi, Gina.
Hi.
Ooh, screaming. Hi.
Hi. Yes. How are you doing?
I'm fine. What's your question?
My question is, like 1.5 years ago, I embarked on wanting to start my creative juice going. So I started going to a makeup school, and and I wanted to be a freelance makeup artist, but since last year my life has changed, so I kind of put that on the back burner. So I just enrolled in another course for makeup, and much of it's a refresher course really, but with some more advanced techniques. Now, do you see anything coming up for me that it would lend me a side job of being a makeup artist?
Oh, I think you can have all kinds of makeup artist opportunities, and they're showing you doing some music videos. What state are you in again? You're in Atlanta? Are you in Atlanta or are you in Georgia? Yeah.
Yes, I'm in Atlanta area.
That's a very competitive area for makeup, that's for sure. But it feels like there might be a new artist. I would focus on the kids and the new artists coming up. And, you know, it's weird. I don't know if you watched the Atlanta Housewives, but Cynthia Bailey's agency, you might be able to get a little something in there. I don't know why, but that's a strange piece of advice. But I wouldn't hesitate to go and approach someone over there. You know, get good at what you do. But I don't know. She does like little fashion shows, and she does like, you know, first look things and, you know, things for the kids who can't afford all the big stuff and all the big expensive folks. And you might be able to find some sort of apprenticeship or internship. I just feel like there might be an opportunity for you there. So I would just go check out the Bailey agency. I don't know why. I've never given that kind of advice before, but there must be something there because the guys wouldn't be saying it.
Wow. Okay. So because this course is like 6 weeks. And that's what I would just, even though it's on a Saturday, and that's good for me. And so that's what I was just saying. Once I get the certificate, hopefully something will come in there soon, so I could just do this.
I think you have to be, you know, kind of have everything on point and ask the people in your course exactly how you present yourself, and then, you know, go forth and conquer. And I would not hesitate to think. I'd rather you be small in a big place than try to be big in a small place.
Right. You're right. That makes total sense.
Yeah. You're just on set by association when you're in a big place like that. Even if you're not getting paid a lot or you're willing to do a little bit, you know, on spec or whatever, you'll get more exposure, and all it takes is one opportunity, and poof, you're on your way. So I'm going to have to jump because we're going to have to wrap the show soon, but I just wanted to say good luck to you, and it sounds like you're on the right track. It feels like you're on the right track for sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great night. Okay, last but not least, we have Patty in New Mexico. Hi, Patty. We've got to make this quick. We have a couple of seconds.
Hi. So, I've been living here for like 17 years, and after 5 years or so, I got these horrible allergies during spring, usually. Yeah. And I kind of like it here, but I don't know, I cannot take it anymore. It's just every spring is the same suffering. So I'm just wondering if it's more something in my mind or what's going on. Should I move partially? That's what I've been wondering lately.
It feels like you have, even though you might feel it's environmental allergies, it also feels like more of a food allergy and something that you could have controlled with, with meds and things. However, what your guides are saying is getting closer to the water will make all the difference. So being in a drier climate and getting closer to the water so there's more circulation, your body doesn't like being landlocked.
Huh.
So they're saying whether it's the Southern California or the West Coast, coastal area, even Oregon or Portland or something like that, you might want to consider, even Northern California would be fine, but close to the ocean because your body is craving your energy, really. It's craving the circulation. That's what it is. So that's why that you're kind of having that kind of acute feeling with the allergies. But again, also look at your diet and maybe go to an allergist and see exactly, get down to the bottom line of what it actually is that you're allergic to, because it might be a very simple fix. And also, I don't know if you use Febreze, but they're saying to get away from the chemical air fresheners and there's some kind of chemical you're using in your house that is causing a lot of that as well. So,
I'm very clean. I eat in my food. I eat organic. I don't use chemicals.
Yeah.
Very in that. So
definitely get allergy tested for sure, but lay off any kind of like fragrances and things in the house and see how you feel. I'm going to have to jump to end the show, but I hope that helped a little bit, and consider moving to the ocean for sure. Okay, so. Wow, we had a nice, rousing bunch. Thanks, you guys, for calling in. I hope today has made sense for you, and I know that I've lived all of this. I never asked you to do anything I haven't done myself, and it absolutely works, and it's always good to do these shows because it always reminds me as well. I love to learn right along with you, and I love to hear what the guides have to say to you guys. It's awesome. They're really kicking butt these days. So we are going to go ahead and end for today. If you'd like to